Hello, BookTube. I thought I'd do a book haul today. I took the day off from work, taking a couple days off, and waited for the kids to go to school. Bright, sunny day, although we are supposed to get some pretty wild thunderstorms tonight. But I was able to go across the state to Middlebury, Vermont, and I went to a bookstore, one I've been hearing about, so I wanted to visit. It's Monroe Street Books, and they're in Middlebury, Vermont, and I did really well. They're looking for a book for me now, one that they think they have. So, but they were loaded. They had a lot of books. I'll try to insert a picture of one of the aisles. I didn't take a lot of pictures. It didn't seem to be that kind of place, so I refrained. Maybe I'm wrong. They might have been fine with it, but I did not ask. But they were nice people, nice to talk to, and I enjoyed myself very much. So I'm going to start with some mass market paperbacks. Paid a bit of a premium, but they bring me back. They're the editions I had when I was a young man reading these, and I like to have them and read them again. And these are by Hammond Innes. The first one here is Lefkis Man. I love that cover. Let's see here. Now, Hammond Innes now brings a storytelling genius to a novel of enormous excitement. The search for a lost archaeologist in Greece and for the beginning of man's violent nature in the dawn of history. I remember really liking this, so I'll be glad to give it a reread. When did this originally came out? It was one of his later works, I believe. 1971. So there's that. Then here, The Land God Gave to Cain, another Hammond Innes. Love these covers. Look at that spine. These are in great shape. This one came out in 1958 originally. The message was received by a mute, paralyzed ham operator in London. The message was sent by a celebrated geological explorer whom the world thought dead. The message was an inexplicable cry for help that was part of a larger mystery hidden in the challenging wastes of the North. And to solve it meant one man's journey into the violence, blood, and mortal terror. So it's another Hammond Innes adventure. Then here we have another one, Campbell's Kingdom. Again, in great shape. I love this cover art. This one here came out originally in 1952. It was a dubious legacy, a deed to oil mining territory 7,000 feet up in the Rockies, bequeathed by a convicted con man and accompanied by a certified jinx. But Bruce Wetherell's luck couldn't get any worse, so he decided to have a go at the gamble. He never expected the odds against him would add up to two tough women in a hate-filled town and a mountain adventure where violent death waited after every sunset. Very exciting. I have read all these, but they'll be a wonderful reread. And then here's Atlantic Fury by Hammond Innes. Look at that cover. This one originally came out, and these are all Avon books, by the way. This one originally came out in 1962. So rising out of the ocean, mysterious and forbidding, the Hebridean island of Lerg. For two men, it is a place where destiny is confronted and played out. One of them is an artist seeking isolation, the other a soldier hiding a tragic secret. The unbridled violence of nature and disaster at sea will change their lives forever. So there's that. And then the final Hammond Innes that I got is a very famous one and a very big movie, and that is The Wreck of the Mary Dear. So I'll give you a little look at that cover. One March, the rusty, tired old freighter Mary Dear drifted out of the fog bank, unmanned except for a haggard, haunted, oil-soaked helmsman. The appalling story of the wreck, the responsibility of her mysterious captain and equally enigmatic mate, had to be dug out of a mire of accusation and counter-accusation. Two lives hung in the balance as the court of inquiry began its digging. The excitement stays at a high pitch from the beginning to the end, entirely satisfactory ending. So those were the Hammond Innes. Nice little collection to start out my reacquisition of these old paperbacks. Then another thing I've got the 1960s, and I want to collect all these. This is the 1950s. This is Edmund Wilson, the critic. This one's in pretty good shape, about the same as my other one. So there's a whole series of these. I wonder if I know it starts in like the 20s. So it goes the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and I have the 60s. There's other stuff of his I'd like to get too. So it has an introduction by Leon Edel. And the 50s, from notebooks and diaries of the period. And this is copyright 1986. They do have some little inserted photos. Not many, I don't think. Yeah, like this. So he was a great critic. Let's see. So he said Salzburg, Germany. Piece on Max Beerbohm, a piece on the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is pretty well known. So a nice mix of his thought. Very glad to have it. Then the prize at Monroe Street Books. Like I say, the people there were wonderful. The gentleman who helped me out was great. Great conversationalist. I had great fun. This is one of these the United States National Museum Bulletin number 230, if I'm reading that right. This is bark canoes, skin boats and skin boats of North America. It's quite a well-known book. If you watched my channel before, you know I collect Howard Chappell book on maritime history. And so this came out in 1964 from the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. And it's Edwin Tappan Adney and Howard I. Chappell. The Bark Canoes and Skin Boats of North America. That's a magnificent volume. I paid a little bit for this, as you would expect. Adney was at the end of the 1800s and the early part, or almost half, of the 1900s. He was an artist, and I guess you'd say he was an ethnographer. He collected information about native peoples and how they built birch bark canoes. This has no dugouts in it. It's just, and it's all north of Mexico, so it's United States and Canada. And he went around, and he eventually went out west. And then Howard Chappell, who's really well known, did heavy work up in the Alaska area, or maybe and then that western part of Canada. So that after Adney died, I guess the notes were in a bit of a tumble, and Chappell put together and edited and then added his own part. So it's a pretty decent monogram, I guess you'd call it. It's a little bigger than that. It's a book, but it's so here we have kayaks. Very detailed. I like the fact that Chappell is, if the evidence isn't there, he may give you what his thoughts are, but he's not going to take you too far. He's going to work with the evidence. And a lot of these great old photos of native folk working with their boats. It's amazing how much of this stuff, well, you know, a birch bark canoe, if it's untended and abandoned, it's not going to last in the archaeological record. It's just birch bark. So you have only so far back you can go. So I was thrilled to get this. This is sort of the find of the day. Like I say, I have them looking for one more thing for me. But this is what I really, really am thrilled about. This will go with my Chappell collection, my Maritime collection. And then the Edmund Wilson, and then all the Hammond Innes. So these are what I got going to Monroe Street Books and over in Middlebury, Vermont. And was glad to have them. But on the way back, because I'm on my own, I got spare time, stop in a Goodwill. We don't have Goodwills over where I'm at, so you have to travel a little bit. I think the last time I went to a Goodwill was with Steve Donahue in Boston. That can't be right. I think it is right. And I've seen some over in the southern part of New Hampshire, but we just don't have them around here, that I know of anyway. And I stopped thinking, well, let's see what they've got for books. Number one, I thought the prices were a little high compared to what I'm used to paying, but I'm used to paying like 50 cents. So maybe it's not too high. Number two, they put stickers on the spines of the books for no reason. It's all the same sticker. Every book in the place had the same sticker on it. So I would think the clerk would know it's a book and you don't need a sticker. It wasn't a price, it's just a white sticker with an orange line through it. And I had to go take them off the spines. I think it's ridiculous. I have no idea why they do these things. But I don't go very often, but I did well today. Even though I had to clean up the stickers a little bit. So let me show you what I got. So this is sort of a Steve Donahue inspired part here. So I got Anthony Trollope, Can You Forgive Her? A little bit of creasing. I've never read this. This is a Penguin English Library, edited by Stephen Wall. No idea about this book, but I do hear enough about Trollope to know I need to read a little more. So, Can You Forgive Her is the first of the series of novels which contain the most sustained exercise of Trollope's imagination. The 6 Palliser novels. Okay. So that's what it is. The chunky thing. I think back then everybody wrote chunky books, right? So I got this. Glad to have it. That's a penguin. Then I got a bunch of them in these Oxford World's Classics. I've got Phineas Finn. And that's a pretty good shape. Let me see if they say anything here real quick. Phineas has a personal chronicle which largely dominates the political calendar, and it's worth noting that the writing of the book coincides with Gladstone's rise to power. So Lady Laura Standish is a high-spirited character. To watch out for that. Then another one of these Oxford World Classics, Anthony Trollope, The Landleaguers. I guess that's how you say that, Landleaguers. So, was his last novel set in Ireland during the Land War of the 1880s. It's both a documentary record and closely following the events in Westminster and the Irish countryside, and a meditative fantasy. Sounds like a combination there, doesn't it? Then, yeah, there's a lot of these. I got Nina Balatka and Linda Tressel. Never heard of either one of them. I just heard a scream from Hyde Cottage. What? Nina Balatka is 1867 and Linda Tressel 1868 are at once unusual and typical among Trollope's novels. What was that noise? I think a cat's into something over there. They're unusual because Trollope concealed his authorship, publishing both anonymously and sending them abroad. Prague for Nina Balatka and Nuremberg for Linda Tressel. Okay. I didn't know he did such a thing. Then another Trollope, another Oxford World Classics, The Kellys and the O'Kellys. 1841, when he was 26, Trollope got a job at the post office in Ireland. It was his first stroke of good luck and provided the impetus he needed to start writing. He absorbed the atmosphere of Ireland astonishingly quickly, and this novel, his second, reveals both the accuracy and the sympathy with which he wrote. Never heard of this one either. I'm not a Trollope expert, as you can probably tell. But this could be fun. I have read, what was they got a list in here? They should have a list. No, that's all right. They don't. This one is An Old Man's Love. No one ever considered that Mr. Whittlestaff was a fool or malicious, but people did think that he was reticent and honest. The inner traits of his character were very, very difficult to read. Very, very interesting. And yes, there's more Trollope. Phineas redo. After the death of his Irish wife, Phineas Finn returns to London and to the House of Commons. But though drawn back apparently irresistibly, he never approaches politics with the zest of earlier days. And then, the Duke's Children. This is Oxford, but it's a different type of thing. I think I remember seeing these years ago, piles of them at like a Barnes & Noble on Remainder or something, hardback, with the same. If anybody knows if I'm making that up or if that's a real memory, let me know. This one has an illustration. It was prefaced by Chauncey B. Tinker and illustrations by Charles Moseley, Oxford University Press. So that's give you an idea of the illustrations. There's little spot illustrations throughout this thing. So this is the Duke's Children, the Palliser novels. Politics per se, or the possibilities open to an elected member of the House of Commons, were, as Michael Sadleir has noted, very near to Anthony Trollope's heart. All right, so this was a Palliser novel. So then, yes, that was it for the Trollope. I'll give you a little view of that. It's a little, not too bad. Some Oxford World Classics, a Penguin, and then this Oxford University Press on top. Then, to finish it up here, I got a couple. These are hardbacks. I've had these in paper. I'm sort of happy to have them as hardbacks. They must have been used at a school or something. This is Sophocles, the Oedipus cycle, Oedipus at Colonus, Antigone, and Oedipus Rex, Dudley Fitz and Robert Fitzgerald. Like I say, nice to have this in a hardback. I don't see them that way often. So we got that. Then we have the Oedipus plays of Sophocles, Oedipus the King, Oedipus at Colonus, and Antigone. So, this one's Paul Roach, the translator, as opposed to Dudley Fitz and Robert Fitzgerald. So, two different translations here. I thought it'd be fun to have them and look through them. And then, something I have in hardback, but I like having a floppy paperback around. This is the Odyssey of Homer, and this is the Richmond Lattimore translation. And this is one they didn't put a sticker on. It's no different than any other book. But it's translation I happen to like. Not that I can read ancient Greek, so it doesn't really matter about that all that much. So there's no way to do a Steve Pyramid here. So I'll do one with part 2. These are the Goodwill books. Pretty good haul. And then the real treasures of the day, and this is Monroe Street Books up in Middlebury, Vermont, where I don't get to go very often. Lovely town. We have Howard Chappell and Adney on birch bark canoes and skin boats. We had Edmund Wilson with his diaries and notes and all those sort of things from the 50s. And then we have a pile of one of my favorite, Hammond Innes. So a very, very good day for me. I think I'll spend the rest of my vacation probably reading instead of just accumulating. So I hope everybody's doing well, and we'll try to get this video up this evening. So thank you, BookTube.